Hi and welcome. I'm Steve Martirano, and this is the Behavioral Corner. You're invited to hang with us as we discuss the ways we live today, the choices we make, the things we do, and how they affect our health and well-being. So you're on the corner, the Behavioral Corner. Please hang around a while. Okay, hi everybody. I'm Steve Martirano, and this is the Behavioral Corner. This is a place where we gather. We like to think of it as kind of metaphorically a street corner where we're hanging and we're sitting on the stoop and we're talking about the way we behave, the choices we make, the behaviors we exhibit, and how all of those things significantly impact our mental health, our spiritual well-being, our entire lives. That's sort of the thumbnail description of what behavioral health is all about. The Behavioral Corner is underwritten by our good friends and great partners, Retreat Behavioral Health, and we have with us two of my favorite people. They really are for a number of reasons. First of all, these two women are poster people for successful working moms, and we'll tell you all about that. They have a backstory, like a lot of people, that involve active addiction, but they are, as I said, inspiring, because I can't think of two better examples of just demonstrating what's possible. That's all I'm saying. You might not be able to do what they did, but at least they're here to tell you they did it and it's possible. And if that weren't all enough, this is their third visit for what we sort of laughingly refer to as Home for the Holidays. Maggie Hunt is with us. Hi, Maggie.
Hi.
And her running partner, Grace Shober. Hi, Grace.
Hi.
Both, as I say, are successful career women. They work for Retreat Behavioral Health, and we'll find out what they're doing there now. But 3 years ago, when I said to Maggie, I bet you it's not easy to go home for the holidays, because we all know those Hollywood movies, where the quirky family shows up for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and then hilarity ensues. That can't be the case when you're in active addiction. So I said, Maggie, can we talk about that? And so she and Grace came together two years now. This is 3 years, and to tell us what Home for the Holidays is like if you're in active addiction, or more specifically, you're making those first steps towards recovery. And you've got a lot of fences to mend. You've got a lot to do at a very potentially fraught period of time, the holidays. So we welcome them back, and it's good to see you again. I haven't seen you guys in a long time because we're all doing this remote. You look great. Grace, I know you, before we started this thing, you dropped a bombshell on us. You had COVID, huh?
I did have it. Yep.
Tell us about
it. So I've been clear from it for several weeks at this point. But it was tough for me to go through, and it hits everybody differently. The rest of my family here in my household, like my kids and my fiance, they didn't really exhibit any symptoms. I got the worst of it, which I prefer anyways. I don't want the kids to feel sick, and especially my fiance, because that's like the end of the world when he's sick. But it took some time to recover from it. I still don't have like smell or taste. But it's nice knowing at this point that once you have it, you're immune to it for at least a significant period of time, and hopefully up until the vaccine's available to take it. But it's definitely a process.
Wow, it's amazing. I'm glad you look great, by the way. So
thank you.
That's good. And Maggie, you have been virus-free, I hope.
No, I have been virus-free, but I was going to say it was funny for me on the other side, like talking to Grace every day, because when she first got sick, I was like, maybe you have COVID. She's like, no way, no way, no way, no way. And then, like each day just like got worse. And then she was like, I lost taste and smell. And then we didn't need the results because we already knew. But she definitely like went through, then she had to isolate. So she couldn't be around her family. And so she was depressed because she didn't want to be away from her family. So to be with her throughout that whole process has been definitely interesting from the other side.
That's a
Grace,
good point. I'm sorry, I just have to jump in because that's a good point that Maggie made, is like I didn't even touch on that. I was touching more of like the physical symptoms. So she's right. Like I was up in my room because I got the positive test first. So I was up in my room away from my kids and everything else, just isolated. And you do fall into like a depression. You really do. And I would call Maggie and talk about it. I'd be like, I like feel not good, so I can see how like somebody who already has like really bad depression or is like going through a hard time, how that can make it like so much worse.
Yeah, we'll certainly get into it with regard to coming home for the holidays while dealing with substance abuse. But boy, talk about the mother of all triggers, right? I mean, this this is really a tough one. Let's go back in time and talk a little bit about what it was like for you guys when you were both using and managed to get an invitation to go home for the holidays, because they were probably scarce for a few years. What was it, Maggie? Do you remember those first times when you would be invited back for Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was using, I was probably on like a little bit of the younger side, so I still lived at home. So like I would still come, but it was just like a breeding ground for me to like drink and get very silly, let's say, and embarrass my family. But when I first got sober, I remember I wasn't allowed to come home for Thanksgiving. And so I was like a little bit upset, because she was like, well, you can't come home yet. Like I was in a recovery. I think I was in a halfway house at the time. So she's like, no, you have to stay up there. No, you can't come home for, certain holidays. And that hurt because, I obviously I take everything personal and I'm super codependent. So like on my mom's side, she's setting boundaries. She's saying like, no, this is good for you. You need to stay up there. You need to, do what you need to do. The best gift that you could give us for this holiday is just like to stay sober. But inside my soul, I'm like, no, nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. But they're really just like making good decisions for me because I'm not able to do it myself.
Yeah, that's got to be a tough one. Grace, what was it like for you?
Yeah, I mean, pretty similar, except like I know like when Maggie talks about in her family, kind of like when she said it was a breeding ground, my family was more so like I was the black sheep, so like I was the one using and drinking and doing all these things. So for a long time I wasn't able to. Same kind of difference too. Like I was in treatment for many holidays, and then when I did get sober, I was kind of like silently invited back. So it wasn't like you're not invited, so I would just go. And it was awkward. It was really awkward. There was only a couple people in my family who were pretty like quickly forgiving. And the others took time, and still some, it's a work in progress 6 years later. But it was an awkward feeling in the beginning.
Sure. Do you both remember situations where you would sit down at the table or even just mingle socially before everybody started eating and feel who around the room was going, okay, when's she gonna go off the rails? Where there must have been people in the room going, it's just a matter of time, right?
Yeah, my Aunt Suzanne recently brought up a time where I was like telling everybody that I was sober, but like I was not sober, and that she like rounded the corner one time and saw me like putting vodka in a drink, and that we just like both stood there and looked at each other for a while. Like I was like, are you going to say anything? And whatever. But I think for me, and also probably for Grace too, early on in sobriety, it's this is the conversation that the family has before you even get there, is like, are we going to have alcohol with this newly sober person? And then me, I'm like, I don't want people to do anything different just because of me. But at the same time, I secretly want there to be alcohol there. So just in case I do decide to drink, it's an option. So it's then it's an awkward, is there going to be alcohol? Is there not going to be alcohol? What's the best decision? That's a whole conversation that we could have for days, because it's, obviously it's not one size fits all, but it's something that you definitely need to talk about when you're a newly sober person in recovery.
That's a great point, Grace. One of the things I read about when I read about this stuff is that it's interesting. I think people on the outside of active substance abuse think that this is totally about willpower, and it is. I mean, willpower, keeping your head down, doing what. But there's a whole series of tips that make the process Maggie just talked about easier. And that one is having a plan. Having a plan. You can't just walk into the first Thanksgiving dinner when you're using or in recovery and think everything's going to be the same. I keep reading about an exit strategy. Grace, first of all, explain what an exit strategy is.
So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that Maggie and I talk about. And for me, I was blessed. I differed actually from Maggie's side. My family didn't like want alcohol at the house and stuff. So that was helpful. But at the same time, like having an exit strategy is having a plan. to get out of there when like things get uncomfortable, whether there's alcohol there or not. Because my family in particular, some of them would push my buttons because they wanted to see me crack and like break and be like, oh, look, she's the same that she's always been. So there are different reasons to have that exit strategy. And that could be like, for me, honestly, in early recovery was calling somebody like Maggie, who's been like a support to me and helped me get sober. And so I would call somebody like Maggie and be like, what do I do? Like, I need to get out of here. So just having a plan in place, if you have to leave, that you're able to do so.
Yeah. Have the cell phone with you.
Yeah,
absolutely. I can just see the conversations all over the place with people slipping off into the powder room or in the basement going, oh my God, get me out of here. By the way, you described a unique circumstance, people struggling with real problems, real diseases, addiction. But this is a holiday that's difficult. One of my favorite expressions, I don't know where I heard it, but some curmudgeon once said, well, Christmas has us by the throat again. And it can feel like that. I mean, it's one of the most stressful times of the year. You're required to do so many things. We don't have a plan for it, but it's necessary to have one for sure in the situation you're talking about. Were there, Maggie, siblings involved in both your situations? You both have siblings, right?
Yeah.
Who's, looking back on it, who's kind of tougher on the recovering substance abuser? Is it brothers and sisters or mom and dad, or is it pretty well?
Brothers and sisters, 100%.
Yeah.
They're just mad at you, right?
Well, yeah, because they do everything right and get no attention, and you do everything wrong and get all the attention.
Yep.
Whoops.
Is that right, Grace?
Yeah, well, it's easier too, I think, even though they love us and stuff like that, like I know as a parent, it is like must be so extremely difficult to cut your children off. Whereas it's your brother or your sister, it's maybe a little bit easier to cut them off.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Well, a great expression is, you don't get to choose your relatives.
Right.
So that being the case, I'm cutting that person loose. She's nuts.
Right.
That's the mom and dad. It's a little tougher. I know, Grace, in particular, that your folks, they didn't get to it immediately, but they did arrive at that point where they just went, you gotta not come around here anymore. You gotta stay. You reached that point too, I'm sure, Mag, right?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't think with my brother, I don't think he forgave me for multiple holidays, so like my anxiety was probably, he's very, I don't know what that was. He's very like cold for a lot, he's not, but like in my case, he was very cold. I think it was easier for him to just like accept me as dead than to, be happy I got sober again, just to be disappointed over and over and over.
Right. He was in effect protecting himself.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're not going to do this to me again. And then I guess the other thing, Grace, that's common in a family situation and heightened during a holiday is that the brothers and sisters are looking across the table. And even though they can clearly see that your eyes are clearer, your skin's better, and you for all practical appearances, look like you're doing okay, there's a resentment there. Oh, everything's okay now. I guess everything's okay.
Oh, definitely. And truthfully too, like there was times when I felt like I wanted to go and I knew I was like sober and doing well and I wanted to go. But at the same time, I felt a little selfish because I knew that people were like not happy that I was there, which was like a sad feeling because you're like, okay, well, I survived and I'm like trying to get through it. And a lot of people don't survive. So it was like hard to be like, why don't they want me there so bad? But there were many times like at family within the first like 1-2 years where they would be questioning me to the point where I felt like, did I use like, I just, you know what I mean? Like, it's like when you walk out of a store and you don't buy anything and you're like, I didn't shoplift, keep going straight, like that's how it felt. I'm like, I'm sober, but they're questioning me so harshly. Like, is something wrong with me?
Yeah. We're talking to Grace Shober and Maggie Hunt. They both are working for Retreat Behavioral Health and talking about their experience with substance abuse. And again, we don't need any gory details, but when I tell you that both these women were where they were headed years ago and where they are now is a miracle. We're not talking about a little bit of trouble with substance abuse. We're talking about the whole 9 yards. So this process that you just described, where it's an odd situation in the holidays, and there are people that are maybe rooting against you, and then there's the, the hostility and all that. I know everybody's different, but what advice, Maggie, would you give somebody facing maybe their first or second time in the holidays under these circumstances? Should they power through that, or should they stay away?
Well, it's hard for me to say because I feel like this year, like people are gonna. I'm worried more for people newly sober being alone this year, I think, than anything else. Because like we just canceled all of our Thanksgiving plans that we had for family from out of state. So I think I'm a little bit more worried about people being alone than I ever have been, for certain holidays. But I think that, yeah, I mean, having a plan, having an exit plan is always, I have an exit plan no matter where I go anyway, just because I'm like, if this is going to be terrible, I don't want to be there. So like, I always like have some kind of, plan for wherever I'm going to go. Yeah. But so that's like the most responsible. But I think that like for somebody who's struggling on whether or not they're like go to the holiday, I guess, like yes, power through, because any kind of connection might be better than no connection. So like, if you have the opportunity to go and like be with family, like I would say yes, because it's, times are so uncertain. This holiday is so strange. So I would say, yeah, power through. And people will be in better, I feel like people will be in better spirits newly sober than they probably ever have been.
Well, Grace,
you getting excited.
No, I mean, you guys both know, Grace, for sure that one of the goals of sobriety is to return to the real world. Mm-hmm. It's not enough just to not use. You've got to now get back into the real world. And there's, in one sense, there's no truer test of the real world than dinner with your crazy relatives.
Right. Well, hey, look, I mean, the truth of the matter is, you could go to a holiday. I think like they're all filled with emotions anyways, like being at the holiday because there's so many people and, things like that. But you could go and it could be the best day and you could still need that exit plan. Like everything might go perfectly and people might be treating you so nicely. And the fact that it's your first holiday sober, you're going to have your own feelings and emotions too, which you need to make sure you take a look at. Like, is this just me feeling this way? Because everybody else might be really great. So like, whether you think that it's going to be a great day or a bad day, it could always go sour. So make sure, regardless, if you have a family like mine who like didn't drink, or a family like Maggie, so there was like alcohol there, you need a plan either way. So make sure that you have a list of phone numbers that you can call, like somebody that's close to you. Like Maggie's my sponsor. That would be somebody that I would call right away. Make sure you have a meeting that you can go to, because any day that ends in Y, we can destroy. So like, let's just be real. Just because it's the holidays, we just have to have a little bit more, of a plan under our belt.
Yeah, what's remarkable about discussing this in the context of holidays? First of all, a couple of things. As you point out, Mag, this is a unique situation. I mean, who knows if anybody can go home for the holidays? But in general, the Thanksgiving in particular is a strange holiday in one sense with regard to family interaction. As anybody, you guys know, the biggest go out night of the year is not New Year's Eve. It's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Right.
Because the college kids are back now home, and yeah, they want to see their friends again. But they're fortifying themselves for that meal the next day, which is always or potentially stressful. This year, Grace, you same as Mag, there's no big gathering, right?
Not really. No. I mean, there's just going to be the family that's around here, very small. It's not going to be family from like all over that's like flying in or traveling, like Maggie said. We're going to keep it small.
Yeah.
I just canceled plans. We had family coming from Boston and Philadelphia, canceled both of those. So it'll probably I don't even know if my mom will come from Bucks County, just us probably here at the house.
Yeah, it's hard. Everybody had these conversations, but I mean, we're being asked or being forced to sacrifice one holiday season so that obviously we can have, a few more. Grace, your family was earlier on involved in the halfway houses. Is that still going on, Grace's house?
Yep.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's still going. I will say, like, for the ladies at the house, just like as a general rule of thumb, we don't have people go for overnights, like you said, the night before Thanksgiving, because it's just like tricky. but also we make sure that nobody's alone, like Maggie had touched on. Like we have people sign a list, and like, you know, if there's one person who's going to be home by themselves at the recovery house, we will have them join one of our families, one of management's families. So they're not alone, because I mean, I know we talk about like being in a group setting, but Maggie made a really good point too about being by yourself can be like way worse. So you know, things are going good there. We just try and implement the same things that like Maggie, myself, and other people in recovery have to follow kind of on a daily basis. We just don't really have people holding us accountable to it. But these things at the sober house are things that we all have to do to maintain our sobriety. You just need a little bit more oversight in the beginning.
Yeah. It's a remarkable story about your mom and dad deciding that it's that old thing I said. The model was you went to a resident treatment center, 28 days, and then you fell in love with one of the doctors there, and you went home. That was the Sandra Bullock method for beating addiction. And, you know, anybody who knows anything about it knows 28 days, that's not going to do it. So this halfway house thing is important. And I know there are going to be people this holiday season who that will be the center of their holiday season. So it's really very valuable. Hey guys, this is the first time you've done the podcast. You did the old radio show, but now, you know, you're going to put your face on the website, and you're going to be on the corner. We really appreciate this. And by the way, for the record, how long sober, Grace?
6 years since September.
Amazing. Mag?
11 and a half. It'll be 11 and a half.
Yeah, we don't need.
When she hit that decade point, we're like, yay.
It's a big number. Anyway, guys, again, this is our tradition. It's our little Christmas tradition, our little holiday tradition. 3 now. I appreciate that. You're heroes. You really are. I mean, I don't want to blow smoke, but you guys are something. And thanks. Have a safe Thanksgiving and Christmas. We'll probably talk before then. And thank you all for hanging with us on the corner.
Yeah,
take care.
You have a nice holiday too.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Every storm runs out of rain, according to the great Maya Angelou. Her words can remind us of one very simple truth, that storms do cross our paths, but they don't last forever. So the question remains, how do we ride out this storm of COVID-19 and all the other storms life may throw our way? Where do we turn when issues such as mental health or substance abuse begin to deeply affect our lives? Look to Retreat Behavioral Health. With a team of industry-leading experts, they work tirelessly to provide compassionate, holistic, and affordable treatment. Call to learn more today. 855-802-6600. Retreat Behavioral Health, where healing happens.